going, you guys? Welcome back to the Fumble Live. We are talking about the latest sports news. We have one NBA athlete who had an unwelcome guest in his hotel room. We're also talking about Carmelo Anthony and what he thinks needs to happen with five team names, including one NBA team name. But before we do all that, make sure you subscribe to our channel, tap the bell for notifications, give this video a thumbs up, leave a comment below, share it with your friends. Once again, we are down one member of the Fumble squad today. Chris is still out, but you have the lovely ladies here. It's a girls' day. Here is the Fumble squad. I'm Devin Howard. You can find me on Instagram as @DevinHoward. Jackie?
What's up, guys? I'm Jackie Ray. You can find me on all things social media at JRay the Fanatic.
Hi, guys. I'm struggling over here. I'm on a computer or a laptop, so I'm trying to get straight. But in the meantime, you guys can follow me on all social media at @IamBrittJohnson.
So we've had a bit of a rough morning so far. Britt had the hardest time getting into our live show. We've had some technical difficulties, so we apologize for starting late today. But just bear with us. We're still going to get through it. We're still going to fill you in on everything that you all need to know. But before we do that, I just want to hear how you are doing. Jackie, how are you? What's new?
I'm actually really good. I have some friends that were supposed to come into town to LA that are now texting me and asking me if they should come because they feel like, they have a spike here. Denver's not really seeing the spike in the virus that we are seeing here, but it's because there's nothing to do in Denver. And so that everyone's, it's just not going to spread as fast. So they're all like freaked out. Like, should we come? Should we not? I'm like, man, I don't know. Do what you want to do. I don't know. I'm fine. So it's great. It's a crazy time. It's a crazy time.
It is a crazy time. Well, Britt, besides the technical difficulties that you were facing today, how are you doing this morning?
I was good, but I literally have people hacking my computer and all this crazy stuff. So we'll see how good I am after the show. Who knows? I might have all these weird things all over all my social media accounts. Who knows? But I'm doing okay. No. It's been a day. It's been a morning. I had a really good night last night, though. And I made my spaghetti from scratch. It's vegan. It's amazing. And I had like 5 of my neighbors see that I was making it. And so they all messaged and said they'd bring their Tupperware over and get a plate. So I, with plates at the door, just like, here you go. But feeding the community is what I was doing last night.
That's dope.
That's so cool. Okay, so why aren't I your neighbor? Because I would love that.
I know, right? I literally once a week I make some big dish and everybody just kind of lines up and I'm like, and if I have to give out my Tupperware, I just make sure they bring it back because I hate losing all my Tupperware to people. So I'm like, hey, bring that shit back or you don't get any more meals. So we be switching Tupperware out and it works.
I do the same thing. So when I moved into my new apartment, I bought a whole pack of the glass Tupperware because that's my favorite kind, and I refused to leave my apartment with it. So I brought a Beyond Meat burger to an event or a small little barbecue gathering that I went to, and I brought it in an empty spinach container because I didn't want to bring my my glass Tupperware.
Yeah.
It's I'm not really losing this. So I do some spinach. All right, you guys. Well, I think we should just jump right on into this first news story about the NBA bubble and how players are already breaking the rules, but it's unintentional. So first we heard about all the disasters about the food. Now we're hearing some negative news about the rooms. As we have been discussing, NBA teams have arrived to the NBA bubble at Disney World to resume the 2019-2020 season. A lot of people have already been expressing their doubts about the bubble, wondering if it's really going to be as safe as the league makes it seem like it'll be. They aren't allowed to have any visitors except for, close family members, but they can't even come until later. But it looks like I mentioned, some of the players have already broken that rule, but it's not on purpose. Memphis Grizzlies point guard Tyus Jones shared a photo from his hotel room where he found a dead cockroach. Now, Leo, you got to show us this photo here so you can see the cockroach. And he says, oh, nah. And that would be my reaction, too. Now, I am notoriously afraid of bugs. I'm not a bug I love all animals. I will not kill a bug. Don't like cockroaches, and I don't like spiders. I don't want them anywhere near me. So I would have the exact same reaction. But a lot of people online, I was looking at what people were responding to this on Twitter, and they were like, oh, stop whining. You're so spoiled, blah, blah, blah. But for me, it's like, I don't want to be stuck in a hotel room for a few months where there's a cockroach on the floor. Maybe that makes me a little bit prissy, but whatever. That's just how I am. So he's staying at the Grand Floridian Hotel at Disney World in Orlando. They're one of the teams that doesn't have like the nicest accommodations. And all of this comes just after we talked about how WNBA stars were stuck in terrible accommodations with worms on their hotel room floors. So there's a lot of insects making their way into the company of basketball players. So, Britt, I want to ask you, actually, no, I have one more thing to talk about before we get into that. Josh Hart is making the most of his situation. So while some people are finding cockroaches in their rooms, he set up this whole gaming console. We have a photo of that. He brought all of his like monitors and keyboards and whatever else you need to play games. I don't know because I'm not a gamer person, but he's really getting set up. He's getting situated. They're going to have a lot of time to kill while they, have downtime during their quarantine hours and during their times when they're not allowed to be practicing or on the court. So he's getting that set up. They also have those players-only lounges that are going to be available to the athletes. So I'm sure we'll see what those look like later on. But let's get back to the insect. Let's talk about the cockroach. So, Britt, like I mentioned before, a lot of the reactions on Twitter were like, oh my gosh, it's just a cockroach. You're making too big a deal out of this. Why are you complaining? So do you feel like these guys are being too sensitive?
I'm like, here we go, something else.
I know. Sound the alarm.
Yes, I do. Because, like, you're a dude. Like, just pick it up and throw it out. Like, and you're also in Florida. Like, there's big bugs in Florida. Like, I just feel like that's just where you are. Like, I don't know. And you're in Memphis. You should be used to those big bugs and all that kind of stuff. And you're staying at one of the crappier hotels because your team wasn't that good. So you just have to deal with it, I guess. I think it does suck, obviously, but at least it wasn't alive. At least it was dead. At least maybe they like fumigated the area beforehand or something and it died before it was able to crawl on you at nighttime. But I mean, just being a guy, I think it's like when guys are just like, ew, like a bug. Like, stop it, sir. I don't know.
Right.
And I mean,
right.
I grew up low key in the hood for a while. So like we saw bugs and you just kill the bug and keep moving. Or now I'm an adult, so I usher the bug outside. I don't kill bugs anymore, but I don't know. I think he is being kind of like extra, like nobody feels bad for you guys. You guys are NBA players. Like you've been quarantining in beautiful homes while all of us have been in apartments. Like I just don't feel that bad for you. I just really don't. I don't know if you guys are trying to make us feel like you guys are having the worst life ever, making your millions of dollars, but I just don't care. I'm sorry.
I feel you. Like they already are better off than most of us in the world, but I still feel like if I walked into a hotel room and I don't care how much money I make, if there was a cockroach on the floor, it would just give me the heebie-jeebies because where there's one,
yeah, for sure.
That freaks me out. Okay, so Jackie, how would you react if you walked into a hotel room and there was a dead cockroach on the floor? Do you think you would freak out?
I think maybe 3 years ago I would have, but let's not forget I spent 2 years of my life on a tropical island where there's all kinds of crazy things. And so in Saipan, they don't really have, they have roaches, but you don't see roaches a lot because you see lizards running through your house. And so, you only have to wake up one time and there's a lizard literally running over your bed before you realize, that roach, it sucks, but it's not a lizard. So, it's a little different for me. I do hate roaches though. I hate the way they die. I don't know why they can't just lay down and die. I don't know why they have to go on their backs and their legs be all, I don't know why that has to be a thing. It's
getting grossed out.
It's disgusting. But I feel like you do. I feel like I would be, I'd have the heebie-jeebies just about taking a shower, going to the bathroom. I have a friend who has a horrible hotel story about she woke up in the middle of the night to go to the bathroom and then she didn't look when she sat down and ended up sitting on a roach. So I would be freaked the hell out if I saw a roach because, like you said, where you see one, there's like 1,000 more. So I would be freaked out. And I'm not mad at any man that is freaked out by roaches because roaches are nasty. So
yeah. Also, I would say I would gladly take a lizard over a cockroach any day.
Oh yeah, you get used to them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I for sure would.
Yeah. Because they don't bother you. They just kind of looking at you like, so do you have something I can eat? If not, I'll just go. Lizards are cool, honestly.
Yeah. They're cute. Lizards are much cuter than cockroaches.
Right.
For sure.
Let's get into the next story. Carmelo Anthony thinks that there are 5 sports teams that need to change their name. So he's speaking out about all of this with the news that Washington is considering a name change. So he tweeted, "We are not equal until all our communities are equal. In support of our Native American communities, the use of of Native mascot names needs to end." And in the photo that he shared with it, as you guys can see, he includes Washington's name as well as Warriors, Braves, Indians, Chiefs, and Blackhawks. And then it says eliminate all Native mascots. So you can see that right there. So as I mentioned before, Washington is already considering a name change, and so is Cleveland. But Kansas City, Atlanta, and Chicago have so far not followed suit, at least not publicly. So he's calling out everyone, including the NBA's Golden State Warriors. So I know that we've talked before about how we need to see what Native American communities want, what they find offensive, but I also feel like leaving a gray area where some teams change their names and others don't could make things confusing in the future. So Jackie, I'm going to you first on this one. Do you agree with Mello here? Do you feel like these names need to be changed immediately?
Yeah, I mean, I like we've said before. I think it's if you do one, you have to do them all, And I think I love that how we are all learning too, because I have to admit that personally, I saw the Warriors on someone else's page. I can't remember whose page it was, but I was like, why would we change the Warriors? But then you have to think back, and the Warriors, they do have their original logo or whatever does have like a Native American in it, which I always miss because I'm so used to the current one that has like the city, like whatever. So. But then the Warriors too, I feel like somebody can be a warrior without being a Native American, but at the same time, if that's what it was originally about, then, maybe we do change it. But I do still think a conversation is warranted. Some of those are just obvious. Obviously, Washington needs to be changed. I think the Chiefs need to be changed. Blackhawks too. But in Denver, we have a whole entire community. It's the Blackhawk. It's called Blackhawk. It's where people go to gamble. It has nothing to do with Native Americans, but it's the Blackhawk Casino. So then I kind of wonder, okay, like, are we going to just go down the road and do a clean sweep and change? If you're not on Native American land, if you're not in their community, no street names, no cities, nothing. Like how. And do they want that? Like, I still need somebody from the Native American community to come out and say, okay, look, this is what we think. This is what you guys are overthinking. This is what we want. So I think I need to hear that first.
Right. And actually, that leads me into my next question. Britt, do you think teams would be remiss in changing their names without consulting Native American communities first, or do you think that no matter what, it's a positive move?
Well, they have came out and said that they want the names of, if you're not a Native group, to not have a Native name. But in the same token, to Jackie's point, not all of those terms, like Warriors is not a Native American term. We're African warriors. There were warriors in Greece. So because they've already changed the logo to like the city, like with the Bay, like I don't think the Warriors need to change their name. Warriors is not synonymous and only whatever with Native Americans. Like, there were a lot of other groups that were warriors, so that's just a name. And even when you Google it or look it up in the dictionary, there's nothing in it that says anything about Native Americans. Now, which like we were talking about, to the point of like learning, like even the Braves, I learned the Braves is a word that is actually a Native American warrior. So a Brave is a Native American warrior. So that is their name for warrior is called a Brave. It's not called a warrior, it's called a Brave. So the Warriors, I don't think need to change their name, but all the other groups, because of when I spoke a couple weeks ago in Britt's take about the American Indian Liberties Coalition or whatever, I forgot their name exactly, but they specifically said they wanted every Native name, if it's not a Native team, to be changed. So to their point, they have already said that. So I think we do need to change all of those. I don't consider the Warriors as part of that group, personally.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was surprised to see the Warriors on that list as well for those same reasons. But I guess we'll see what happens. We could be getting a lot of name changes happening in the next, few months, which it'll be interesting to see. Now let's move on into the final need to know news story. So the NFL is making some changes. Things that we've been accustomed to seeing in previous years are not going to be something that fans can look forward to. There's a lot of things that the players are going to have to adjust to. So the league released some of the things that they're going to have to change or that they're not going to be doing moving forward in the wake of the pandemic, including teams are forbidden from post-game interactions within 6 feet of each other. There will be no jersey exchanges between players. The media will not be allowed in the locker room. Teams must travel to the stadium via bus, and on-field fan seating is not allowed. So there's a lot of things that are going to be different going into this next season. People have already started making fun of it online. Richard Sherman tweeted, this is a perfect example of the NFL thinking in a nutshell. Players can go engage in a full contact game and do it safely. However, it's deemed unsafe for them to exchange jerseys after said game. Deshaun Watson tweeted, that's damn silly, bro. So it doesn't seem like the athletes are that thrilled with it. And it actually does seem kind of contradictory considering they will be running into each other on a field, and then suddenly they can't be within 6 feet of each other after the game. So I'm curious to hear what you guys think about this. Do you feel like these safety measures are necessary, or is this just kind of ridiculous? Britt, can we start with you?
I mean, it's absolutely ridiculous to the point that Watson and Richard Sherman made. There is no social distancing in football. You can't do it. So what's the point of after? And I spoke to it before about them saying that they want to do the lockers 6 feet apart and all this weird stuff. But then you go out on the field and literally people are on top of each other. People are tackling each other. People are sweating on each other, exchanging blood fluids, all of this kind of stuff. We all know about the stories of the offensive and defensive linemen peeing on themselves during the game because they don't want to go use the bathroom. So there's piss everywhere. There's all these different kinds of fluids everywhere. And then after the game, it's okay, bro, can't give you a handshake now because the game's over. Just during that 60 minutes of play, they are literally attacking each other. But then the second after that, they can't even be around each other within 6 feet of each other. It's just so bogus. It's weird. Even with the jersey swap thing, that's so weird. The players don't put on the jerseys after the fact. It's not oh, I'm taking it off and putting it on. No, they take it off, they sign it, and then they go and put it in a frame. It's just bogus. It's weird. The NFL, again, has missed the mark like they always do. So this is exactly what I expected from the NFL because they're trying to act like they're trying to do something. But if you were really that worried about it, you would just cancel the season.
Yeah. I know
I do agree
true.
with is the media is the media in the locker room after. That's the only thing that I would say because you're now introducing new people to the mix. But as far as the players are concerned, it's ridiculous.
Mm-hmm. Jackie, what's your takeaway, and how do you think that limiting the media and where they can go and how they, cannot go into the locker room anymore, how do you think that's going to affect the way we're able to cover games or hear, from the players?
So UFC's got this down. I don't know if you guys watch the UFC fights that come on every weekend, but they've got it down to a system. The fighter goes in there, he does his thing, the winner comes out, he goes to a booth, and the person interviewing him is on a headset. They get a headset. I don't know how the headset thing works because it seems like it's just one headset. So, they have several fights through the night. So several people are wearing the same headset, but you could argue, well, they've been in the ring, so they're all kind of subject to whatever germs. But They go to a booth, they put on the headset, the person interviewing them is about 50 feet away, and they put on a headset and they interview them. So I think, as far as interviewing the players is from a reporter standpoint, just watch the UFC because they got it down and it's dope. It doesn't affect you the way you think, because we're used to, a bunch of reporters crowded around one player with everybody's mics or phone in their face. We're used to that. This way it's a more one-on-one thing. So I think you just every team has their own reporters anyway. So maybe you just funnel questions through them and just do it like that. So I think it's doable. I don't know if the NFL is really being proactive in making it doable, because a lot of these decisions seem to be coming very last minute and they don't make sense. That's why they don't make sense, is because they're not thinking it through. They're not looking at other models that have already started to work. So it's definitely doable. I actually am not upset about the reporter situation at all, because I see how well it's working in the UFC.
Mm-hmm. It actually seems like you might, Jackie.
Oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead, Britt.
Oh, go. Well, to your point too, Jackie, like they don't even have to just follow the UFC. Like we don't see reporters aren't allowed in locker rooms at the collegiate level. So that's already a thing that has happened for years, and reporters are still able to get their stories or whatever the case is. Like they have always just brought out whatever select players, and then those are the players that the reporters can interview that day. And the player literally is just on in that same kind of thing, like just in a booth or like sitting on a stage or whatever, and then the reporters can throw questions or whatever the case. So at college level, that's already like been done. So I don't see how it's a big difference between the NFL. And to be very fair in this, like there were years and years and years where women reporters weren't allowed in the locker room. So we had to deal with trying to figure out how to get stories and stuff like that the men could easily get by walking in locker rooms and stuff like that, and in clubhouses for baseball. So I think that it's very easily doable, because women have actually been doing it for years and still able to get their stories out.
Right. Yeah, for sure. I just want the NFL to actually be a little bit more proactive, Don't just say, we're not going to do something. Actually say, hey, we're not going to do it like this, but instead we're going to do it like this. Just have a damn plan, NFL. Come on. Like,
right.
I want to whoever is like making up all these rules and coming to these decisions, because it just, a lot of it seems to be like, what are you even thinking? It's kind of confusing. But that wraps up Need to Know News, you guys. And as you all know, if you've been watching our live show over the last 2 weeks or so, you know that we are partnering with the Equal Justice Initiative, and we are so excited about it. If you guys do want to get involved, all donations that you give us during our live and all super chats are going straight to the Equal Justice Initiative. So they are a nonprofit to ending mass incarceration. They help people who have been wrongfully convicted and are in jail or in prison for crimes they didn't commit. They provide legal representation, counseling, resources. They help expand, the investigations into these various cases to find evidence that will actually disprove that a person was responsible for committing some sort of crime. So today I want to tell you guys about a man named A. Ray Hinton. So Hinton was arrested and charged with 2 capital murders based solely on the assertion that a revolver was taken from his mother's home and was the gun used in both murders, plus another murder. The Equal Justice Initiative engaged 3 of the nation's top firearms examiners in 2002, proving that there was no evidence at the crime scene that could be matched to the gun. After more than 12 years of litigation, the U.S. Supreme Court reversed the conviction, and a new trial was given to Hinton, concluding that the new evidence tested could not in any way link him to the crime. He was the 152nd person exonerated from death row since 1983. So this just goes to show why organizations and groups like the Equal Justice Initiative are so important. People can spend years behind bars for something that they didn't do just because the investigations were faulty, or the DNA testing didn't happen, or it was weak or inconclusive or whatever. So this is why it's so important to support groups like the Equal Justice Initiative. If you would like to get involved, make sure you leave a donation. You can give us a super chat, like I mentioned before, and it's going straight to EJI. And if you want to find out more information about them, you could go to www.eji.org. We're so happy to be partnering with them. And that was the story that I wanted to share with you guys today. And we're going to have more coming tomorrow and throughout the next few weeks. But now it's time for Jackie to tell us what we not gonna do.
That was seamless today, Devin. Okay, I see you. Good job. All right, guys. So look, what we not gonna do is pretend that sometimes you just get rid of things that you don't want. Sometimes it doesn't mean anything more than that. Sometimes it's something you just don't want or you just don't need. So let's talk about Josh Gordon really quick, because he was drafted to the Browns, aka Purgatory, in 2012. He missed 2015 and 2016 season for smoking weed. He's been suspended about 8 times overall. Last month he applied for reinstatement, but haven't heard anything about that. And that seems to be a no-brainer to me, since the league has this whole fake, oh, you can smoke weed. It's kind of a pay to play is what it really is. So I don't see why they don't just let Josh Gordon back in. But when you factor, I think he made just over $5.3 million during his career. But when you factor in his suspensions and fines, it probably averages out to about $4 million that he earned throughout his career. But a lot of people think now that he's broke, and they think that he's losing money or he's desperate because of this tweet. This is a tweet from Heritage Auction Sports, and it says, Josh Gordon is selling his Super Bowl 53 ring. Yep. There it is, you guys. It's a beautiful ring. People are all up in arms about this, which is funny to me, because Josh Gordon he's always suspended when the playoffs come. So he's never really been the reason a team did anything. Although he is talented, he's never been the reason for doing anything. So it is possible that he's hurting financially, but it's also possible that he's like, I didn't earn this. I didn't help with this Super Bowl win. It doesn't mean anything to me. Let me just go ahead and get rid of it and make it work for me. Plus, let's not forget that in May, Robert Kraft, he auctioned off his championship ring from Super Bowl 51. All the proceeds from that went to the All In Challenge, which is a fundraiser to feed people that are struggling to eat right now during the pandemic. So to me, everyone being up in arms is kind of like, what the hell? But I get it. It's a Super Bowl ring. It's a very valuable thing. It should be a keepsake. But to me, it's no big deal. Devin, what do you think? Is him basically pawning his Super Bowl ring? Is that a sign that he's going broke? Is that a sign that maybe he still has a substance abuse problem? Although weed does not count for that. But what do you think the signs are pointing to with this, him auctioning off this ring?
Well, I mean, first of all, I don't really think it's that big of a deal for all the same reasons that you mentioned. But I don't want to say that I think it's because he still has a substance abuse problem. I'd like to be optimistic and just think that he feels like he could use that money for something else. Maybe he does need the money, maybe he didn't manage his spending that well, like we've seen so many other athletes do. So maybe he just, needs some extra cash, and that's a great way to do it. And he doesn't really feel like any sort of meaningful connection with the ring. So might as well earn some money off of it. That's what I think.
I would say, though, he should probably hang on to it. Even if it is, whether it's for money or not, he should hang on to it a little bit longer until after Tom Brady retires, because that's going to be like the last of the Brady era. So I think he would get more money for it if he waited. But that's literally all I have to say about that. Him getting rid of it, I don't have an opinion on that. He just could have got more money if he would have waited.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to try to optimize his money. All right, so let's get into this next one, because I feel like every single week, rightfully so, since we're all kind of seeing spikes in this pandemic, but we talk about the virus and how it's going to impact sports and should we move forward. I've gone from definitely yes, let's go forward to maybe I don't know, and now I'm kind of leading on the side of caution. Like, I just don't know if we're implementing all these weird rules. What are we doing? Why are we playing? But with the NBA, we know we're moving forward. Most teams are already in the bubble. Some of them have roaches, as we've already seen. But we've talked about guys too being afraid to come back, either because they're afraid they're risking themselves because of the pandemic and you can't be completely safe, or they don't want to risk injuries because they don't want to lose out on the next big check, which I personally get. I think it's crazy to us because we're saying, oh, they're already making millions of dollars anyway, so what's the big deal? And we've heard a lot of NBA players say they're living paycheck to paycheck, which definitely sounds crazy to us. But I think when you start making that kind of money and you have the bigger house and you have the bigger car, bigger bills is what it is. It's bigger money, bigger bills. So it's very possible, especially these young guys who don't have like LeBron's money and stuff like that, that they're living paycheck to paycheck. And then we also have the guys that are due like some max contracts. Max contracts are supposed to be signed this summer. Celtics, Jason Tatum, he's one of those. He's one that's set to potentially earn up to $30 million per year. So I think you need to be healthy to do that. So the question is, does playing right now help your earning potential? Or is it a risk because no one's in basketball shape right now. I don't care what anybody is telling you. They're not in basketball shape right now. But Jason Tatum, he did speak to Clutch Points about getting back to basketball. And he said, quote, nothing is guaranteed. No matter if they say you're young enough, no matter what, you're still getting paid. I think it's still putting a lot on the line. I know a lot of people won't really care that much because they feel like we make so much money, which is true. But I understand like guys like Bartons that decide to sit out because he has dealt with injuries and he is looking to get paid this summer. We've been off for 4 months, not being able to be in the facility. Obviously, we're supposed to stay at home and not having the normal access that we would have to the training facility or the weight room or the gym. And then we kind of being asked to ramp back up and pick it back up at such a rapid pace and go down there and play. Guys got to have a lot on the line, which makes sense to me. You know, you guys, I've been telling you, I used to be in amazing shape. Fun fact, I used to train for an amateur bodybuilding tour that I used to do every single year. I used to be in amazing shape. I didn't work out for 4 years. And now I'm telling you, walking from here to the top of Runyon Canyon, I feel like my heart is about to bust out of my chest. So once you don't have the same routine, obviously they don't have that length of time in between their routine. But once you get out of that routine, that's why you do have the training camp, so you can get back into basketball shape. So I guess my question is for you, Britt, when we're talking about these guys that are potentially going to go in, somebody's going to get injured. I think that's a no-brainer. It's not outside the realm of possibilities to sign someone who has an injury. We know KD got signed for $164 million for a 4-year career with a ruptured Achilles. So it's not outside of the realm of possibilities. But do you think that especially for guys that are looking to get this max contract over the summer, that going into this bubble, not 100% in basketball shape, it's a risk that they should take, or should they kind of do a Victor Oladipo and Jason Beal and sit down? How do you think that should work?
I think that they should play, because then also you get to a point where we're going to get to November and now you haven't played basketball for 9 months. And I think that will be harder to come back to than this 4-month break that they've had. And I think players know their bodies. They know what they can and can't do. And if they feel like it's something that they physically don't feel ready for now, then yes, of course, sit out. But if you feel like you're 80%, no, everybody else is at 80% too. And you guys are all probably going to be playing at 80%. So it's not going to be like you are going to have to exert yourself way more than somebody else is, because I think all of you guys have been out the same amount of time, and it's going to be something that all of you guys deal with. But if you come to the 9-month point, there are guys that actually stopped playing 2 months ago. So they are going to have an advantage over you going into the next season. So I think there's a lot of things to look at, but obviously I think players should just trust their bodies. It is their money. At the end of the day, it's going to be the contract that they sign or whatever the case is, and it's their career. So they should do what's best for themselves and not feel pressured to necessarily play if they don't feel ready. So hopefully these players, and Jason seems like he's kind of on the fence, so maybe he shouldn't play. I don't know, but and I don't know what his situation's been and how healthy he feels and whatever the case is. So I would say for them to just listen to themselves and listen to what they're really feeling, because it could smack you in the face and be horrible, or it could have been the best decision you make. But it all depends on how your actual body feels, which is why I never said anything about Kawhi sitting out, even though his doctors cleared him. He's like, well, I don't feel right, so I'm not going to play because I know I'm about to get a really big deal. And that's the exact reason why he did not play, even though the Spurs doctors cleared him. So I think more players should follow like Kawhi's suit and make sure that they do what's best for their personal bodies, because at the end of the day, Kawhi gets paid out for it, because he did decide to
Mm-hmm.
sit out during that time, even though the doctors said whatever, and he got so much backlash for doing it. He kind of just still listened to himself and his body, and it still benefited him in the long run.
Yeah, I mean, no, I agree. I think sometimes out of sight, out of mind, you know, and so when you are looking at that max contract, I think maybe you want to remind people like, this is why I should be getting my money. So yeah, I totally get that. I totally get that. Okay, so I want to move on to this last one, because this last one is definitely one of my favorite moments that I have done so far. I sent this to our producer last night because I was like, girl, what the hell? Do you see this? I know you guys can kind of sense my pessimism sometimes. I feel like I continually lose faith in humanity. So this one for me is the universe's way of girls saying, what you're not going to do is think that there's not some superheroes out here like Philip Banks. Philip Banks is a former Marine who previously played for Saddleback College in Mission Viejo. And he credits his football time to this hero moment. Leo, can you put this video up there?
Whoa.
Crazy, right? So I know, right? So when I saw this, I was like, what? So, because the guy that was standing there, I know he would try, but he definitely was not ready. He was not ready to save this child. So the mother, as you can see, the apartment is blazing in flames. The mother is 30-year-old Rachel Long. She threw her son from the window just before the flames engulfed the apartment and took her life. So Banks says, quote, I just had tunnel vision on the patio. When the boy got thrown off the balcony, it was just me and the boy. I didn't see anything. I didn't hear anything. And then he also said that the real hero in this situation is not him, but it's the mom, because she managed to get not only her son, which we see rescued here, but she got her daughter out earlier too. And she had 2 children in the apartment with her. Both of them are safe in the hospital. They're doing fine. But yeah, Philip and this woman just definitely are my heroes right now, because she had that's a mother's love, guys, just willing to sacrifice yourself to make sure you get your kids out. And to see Philip Banks just run up and save that child. I promise I got teary-eyed when I saw this video. So I just want to shout out to him for being the hero. It looks like Devin's over there getting a little teary-eyed too. But yeah, this was definitely a moment for me. Yeah, it's so amazing. So I just wanted to share that, because I feel like there's a lot of people in the world that are like me, that you kind of lose hope in humanity sometimes. So you need people like Philip Banks to remind you that we still have some heroes that walk among us. So I think that is a good way to get into it for our girl, because now I'm just going to do the whole thing, Devin, because you look emotional, because now it is time for Brit's Takes. Brit's Takes. I only did 2. It's supposed to be 3. My bad. Brit's Takes.
So, Jackie, remember when you told Chris Clark that you didn't want to be brought into your show with a kind of sad moment?
Girl, but that wasn't supposed to be an uplifting, like, look, he's a hero.
It's kind of sad.
I know, but I thought he was a hero.
So I'm totally okay. I'm frozen, but we're gonna try to get through this, because I'm just gonna talk. So hopefully y'all hear me. If you don't hear me, I'm sorry. This is not my fault. So and I'm gonna have to kind of go back to my notes on a whole nother computer, and hopefully it works out, because I'm in a weird setup today. But of course this is gonna happen, because I am talking about the NCAA yet again. And you know, them spirits from the NCAA like to come at me and make sure I don't get my point across. So this is a collective of all of them coming together to make sure I have a crappy Brits take today. So we heard yesterday that Ivy Leagues decided to cancel their fall sports. That includes football. And people were wondering, is the NCAA going to follow suit? Well, if they follow tradition of what happened earlier in the year, probably yes, because we all remember back in March of this year, the Ivy League was the first one, while everyone else was still sitting there wondering what's happening with COVID, to cancel their tournament. 2 days after the Ivy League canceled their tournament, the NCAA canceled their tournament. And remember, they did that basically before the NBA and anything else came out. And because we were all freaking out, like, why did they do this? But then obviously everything turned out that way. But the Ivy League was the first one to do it. And then everybody else kind of followed suit. So brought up the question now, like, is NCAA right around the corner to do the same thing? Well, probably, but probably not. They're really fighting here to have a football season, even though we've heard in the last couple weeks all of these players, hundreds of college players testing positive in college football for the coronavirus and stuff like that. And the NCAA has still kind of continued to say what they were going to say, even so much so that one of their coaches, okay, so I usually love the Harbaugh brothers. I like John a little bit more than I like Jim, because Jim's with Michigan now and I'm an Ohio State fan, so I don't really like him that much. But he said something here that made me really question his sanity. So he actually spoke in a press conference this week, and he was asked a million questions about COVID and what the NCAA should do. And he said, COVID is part of our society. It wasn't caused by football or caused by sports. There's no expert view right now that I'm aware of that sports is going to make that worse. Jim, there are experts saying that being in large groups of people or being within 6 feet of other people or not wearing masks can cause the spread of COVID. What you do in football is against all of those things, which is why the Ivy League actually decided to cancel their season, basically because of the campus rules. So the campus rules had to go with, they weren't on campus. A lot of schools weren't allowed to have more than 15 to 25 people in a group at one time. The social distancing aspect, the wearing masks aspect. We all know about Harvard and their decision to have their whole entire semester done online and still actually charge the $50,000, which was why they went viral this weekend. But all of these schools are either not having classes on campus anymore, or they're doing so with a lot of regulations as far as wearing masks and being 6 feet apart and limiting the class size and all of that kind of stuff. So because of that, they had to cancel their season because they couldn't effectively have a season that fit into those rules, because we all know a football team consists of more than 25 players, you know? So they did that based on the rules, and the rules that were passed down from the governors and, you know, or medical professionals and stuff like that. So I don't understand what Jim was talking about when he said, yes, nobody said that the coronavirus was caused by sports or football, but we do know that if you get large groups of athletes or large groups of people at a wedding or large groups of anything together, that it can increase the spread of it. So I don't understand his thoughts here, but I feel like what he had to say was very close to how a lot of the other NCAA coaches feel, because we all know they don't care about those players as much as they try to act little things and he and, oh, that's my guy, and like whatever. We've literally heard stories and seen many of things, even just in the last month alone, where the coaches did not have their players' best interest. The coaches said derogatory remarks to players, and they always still continue to keep their job, and the players end up either moving on to the pros, but the majority of players end up just getting regular jobs and having regular lives while these coaches are making millions and millions of dollars. So Jim, I'm confused why you would say something like this. I actually liked you a little bit still, even though you were coaching for Michigan, but this is very sad and very inappropriate to hear a college head coach say this when he is responsible for over 100 guys on his team. This is why the medical and the government need to come in and say that they are going to cancel seasons, because also an NCAA rep came out and because he was asked about, okay, the Ivy Leagues decided to cancel after they canceled earlier in March. You guys followed suit a couple days later. What is your plans now for fall sports? They came out and said, we are going to continue to put one foot in front of the other, and we're going to continue to move forward until somebody stops us. So the NCAA technically has no plan in shutting down. They have about to the end of the month to decide what their decision is going to be, if they're going to have a season. And then obviously we pretty much know at some point the season will get canceled. But they have about a month to decide if they want to go in and continue on with the season, or like the Ivy League did and like Morris or Morehouse did, they ended it. Jackie, my question is going to be to you. Was Jim Harbaugh's statement an accurate one as far as how you believe that a good amount of NCAA coaches? And do you think the season will end up being canceled before it starts, or do you think it'll be canceled later on in the year?
That's a good question. I think from a monetary standpoint, it'll probably be canceled later on in the year because they're gonna do everything they can to push forward. But this statement from Harbaugh, that is an interesting statement, though. It's basically saying it's not the fault of football. Like, yeah, no, that's a what? So I think
like no
what
shit.
he was
I
trying,
know that part.
right? Like, duh. I think what he was trying to say is, hey, this is what he probably wanted to say. We understand that there's a pandemic right now. We understand that we should probably err on the side of caution. However, we all have jobs to do. And if we can figure out a way to push forward, we want to figure out a way to push forward. I am going to assume that's what he meant to say, because this whole statement makes him look really dumb, and I don't have a lot else to say about that. So I'm just going to assume that's what he meant to say. Right. But I mean, I just think they'll definitely push forward I think I agree 100% with you. We really need somebody from the CDC or any of our medical, professionals to say, hey, enough is enough. You guys are talking about what you want to do. We've let you do that, hoping that everyone would do what they were supposed to do. You're not doing what you're supposed to do. So now we're going to do a government mandate. This is what it is. And I think from a coaching standpoint, that would make you feel better too, because now it's not like you don't have to say, oh, you know what, we canceled the season on this kids. You don't have to take responsibility for that. So I think they need to step in with that, and then maybe stick to coaching, because this did not come out right, like, at all.
Yeah, to your point here, Jim also said in this same interview that he has the same sentiment that the players are expressing, and that's that they want to play. So do you think the coaches are kind of just erring on that side, even though maybe they might feel like it probably isn't the best idea to play, but because some of them do have great relationships with their players, and they have seniors that, want to go into the NFL next year, not wait a whole nother year and be a senior all over again. Do you think that is the reason why on the player side? I know NCAA is about the money, but with the players and coaches, maybe a lot of the coaches are expressing this is that because they're being the voice of their team.
I mean, if that's the reason, I love that reason, because as a head coach, you're supposed to care about what your kids feel. You should want to put their needs, their wants, and their desires first, which I think is also admirable, because we know that a younger guy is going to have a much easier time getting over it than, say, if he gets it, because he's in the age demographic where it would be more difficult for him to get over it. So if he's saying, you know what, I don't care, my team wants to ride, I want to ride with them, I care about these kids, I don't want their careers to kind of be maybe upended or delayed just because of this. I understand all of that, which is why, again, I think it would be better for everyone if they didn't have to make those kind of comments. If they just said, hey, we're pushing forward right now because we can. We are all excited about playing football, and leave it at that until the government or the CDC comes out and says, no, you can't play. And then that way they can say, oh, we really wanted to. So they can still seem like they were for their kids, and not have to make any comments about, what's going on in this pandemic, because obviously none of us are getting it right anyway. So it would be better to say less.
Say less, Jim, or at least like talk to somebody before you have statements, because the wording's off. Maybe we get what you were trying to say, but the wording's off, my guy. So I don't know. That was just weird. I was just like, wait, what, sir?
Right. Right.
All right, guys. Well, that is it for Brit's Take today. Thank you so much for tuning in. Sorry for all the technical difficulties. You know how the NCAA be trying to do me. It's unfortunate. I'm going to keep fighting. I'm going to keep speaking. You can't shut me up.
Yes.
So, yeah.
You can't silence Brit. I love it. All right, you guys. Well, Chris is going to be back tomorrow, so we're going to get the fourth member of the Fumble Squad back up here with all of his voices and the sound effects and all of that. We did our best to fill in for him. I think we killed it, but we're going to be glad to have him back. We're going to have more bubble news for you tomorrow. I don't even know what the news is going to be. I just know that we're going to have it. There's going to be Yeah.
Well, today is Jackie's day. The Lakers arrive at the bubble today. So we will see how LeBron feels about his accommodations.
I think LeBron's going to get a nicer setup than everybody. I think that's definitely what's going on.
LeBron's going to be in the presidential suite in the building or in the hotel, and people are going to be real mad because LeBron's like, I don't understand what the problem is. He's going to have a whole Thanksgiving dinner laid out for him, and he's like, I'm eating fine over here.
Yep.
That's how it's supposed to go. That's how it's supposed to go. That's right. That's right.
I'm 100% okay with it. He deserves it. He's the king.
Right.
All right, you guys. Well, that wraps up our show for today. Thank you so much for being so patient with us while we struggled with a couple technical issues. We're going to be back again tomorrow at 11 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. So mark it on your calendars and tap the bell for notifications so you know the second that we go live. Don't forget to subscribe. Wash those hands.
Where the heck is my thing?
I know, right? It's like
Stay safe, everybody, and we will see you tomorrow. Bye.
Ooh, yeah.